about the most important and useful add-ons in Blender for architectural design. First we'll start with the ones that ship with Blender, and the ones that ship with Blender that I would like to talk about are Archipack and Tiny CAD. So if you go into your file, user preferences, and search for Archipack in add-ons, make sure you have it selected. Save your user settings. So what does it do? You can add, let's actually click under mesh menu. You see a new submenu called Archipack, and you can add walls, windows, doors, stairs, fence, trusses, and they're all parametric objects. And what do I mean by that? Here I have a window and a door, and if I click on them, I selected them a while ago, but I have access to all the data. So I can change the width and everything adjusts, change the height, change the type. Let's say we have two number of rows, one panel each, and so on. There are various other settings that I'll let you play with. And the same goes for the doors. So the way that the elements work in Archipack, especially with windows and doors, is that they're related to the frames. So you have to select the frame, and then you see the submenu in your 3D view properties pop up. And if you click on manipulate, you even have these dynamic elements that allow you to change it. So let's go ahead and create a few elements. So let's create a new window, Archipack window, and you see you have a library of items to which you can add. I'm not sure why, but the default one shipping with Blender 2.79 doesn't have images. So I just click the first one, and then I manipulate it to my liking. Besides dragging on these, we can also click and specify a number. So I'm going to have 2 rows with 1 panel each. We could also have rear windows. But in this case I want a flat window. Doors work in a very similar way. So 3D cursor, let me just put this upon Z. So if I go to mesh, add object mesh, Archipack door, and again you have different presets. Let's go with this one, which is a simple door. And again we can change it. We can change the width, the height, number of panels. So now he has 2 doors. And then there's some presets about the types of doors. So panels, you can choose the different kind of models, and then of course once you're happy and you wish to edit these further, you can always go into the mesh and adjust it as you wish. And the nice thing also about Windows is that we have a number of component options. For example, showing or hiding the handle, enabling the exterior or the interior ledge, and then creating a European style external blind. So that's the first add-on. The next one I want to talk about is called Tiny CAD, and again it ships with the latest version of Blender. You may need to go into your user preferences and make sure that it's enabled. Tiny CAD mesh tools. And what this does, it does many things, including Archipack, by the way. There's a lot of other functions that I'll let you explore. Those are the ones that I find the most useful. So with Tiny CAD, I have these two edges, and I wish to keep them exactly as they are, but find an intersection. Usually, we try to do something like this, and then subdivide this, and just drag that vertex until it's close by. But we're never sure that that line is absolutely straight. So a better way to do it is if we go into edge selection and select these two modes, and you go to W mode, Tiny CAD, VTX Alto, and it creates a straight line that intersects between those two elements. So here's another instance of it, where I have some vertices here, and I want to create a face that's completely straight between those two edges. So if I select this edge and this edge, hit W, Tiny CAD, VTX Auto, and it creates that extra element. And now we can create a face, or if you want quads, you can subdivide it further. The important part is that it creates perfect intersections between two straight lines. So that's it for the built-in ones. And then there are also a number of add-ons that I would suggest you add to your Blender. First one is Sun Position. So I've listed where you can download it in the description below. And like all other add-ons, we just have to make sure that we have it enabled. And what it does is, if we go into the World tab, scroll the way down, there's a tab called Sun Position. If we enable it, let's get my sun out. Where's my sun? There's my sun. Just drag it over here. We can specify latitude and longitude. Well, first we need to check Use Object. Make sure it's the right one. I think there it is. It puts it in a different place. That's alright. It doesn't matter where the sun is, because the direction of the vector of the sun is what determines how the shadows are used. So let's just see how it looks now. I think my shadows are too soft. Let's just sharpen them up. So that's the default. So now let's specify an actual location. So if we go in here, we have latitude and longitude. Now the easiest way to grab the latitude and longitude from a location you're working with is if you go to Google Maps anywhere, and you see actually when I move, we have the latitude and the longitude specified here. So I'm in Philadelphia right now. Let's go to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. So if you want this precise latitude and longitude, all we need to do is just copy this, paste it here, and then copy, paste this here. So now we have the right location, and what this allows us to do is specify the month of the year, which I suppose there is a little bit of a difference, I'm not quite sure, and then the time. And then as you can see, it adjusts. So if we go to our model here, you sort of see that's quite early. Picking up some other shadows. And here it is. So it's very useful to get accurate shadows in your models. So the next one is offset edges. This one I use daily. And what it does is, in this column for example, to get the offsets exactly the same on this side and on this side, which I'm just noticing now they're not. That's probably because my scale wasn't set to 1. So let's just do a new example. If I create a plane and I just scale it, let's do it over here. In fact, I'll create another plane, reset the scale. So with this one, what we usually do is extrude, extrude, escape, scale, extrude, extrude, escape, scale. It works fine when we're working with square or circular objects. We see all the distances are the same. But the minute we try to start doing it with rectangular objects, and again, the only thing I'm going to do is just apply my scale. Extrude, extrude, escape, scale. And now we see that it's not quite the same. Extrude, extrude, escape, scale, and so on. So the best way to make sure that it's all the same is to use the mesh offset add-on. And again, just make sure you enable it whenever you install it. So once we have it installed, just have to make sure that you apply your scale using the Control A button and then apply scale. So now if we go into edit mode, I'm just going to delete this vertex, or rather edge. Bring up the tools menu, and here you see you have a submenu called offset edges. So let's select them all, extrude them in the Z direction 0.2, and then we have offset, extrude and move. So offset just offsets it. By set distance we can then change later. Or we also have extrude, which actually extrudes it. And you see now it's really nice because it's the exact same distance all the way throughout. So let's do 0.1, extrude Z 0.3. Then in the offset edges I'm gonna type extrude. I'm gonna press the extrude button. Extrude it. Extrude Z 0.2. Extrude minus 0.2. Extrude Z, extrude, extrude, and so on. Just add a little bit of bevel to that edge. Shade smooth. So now all those edges are exact same distance. So if I just duplicate this, rotate it X, rather Y 90, nope, 180. Just join them. Select only these elements here. And I'm going to bridge them by pressing W, bridge edge loops. Just delete these edge loops, X, edge loops. Face. I'm just making a wall, which is what I initially had planned to do. So this is kind of a, it could be a decorative element, it could be a column for kind of building, or plinth for a bridge. So that's one example of how we can use the offset. Another one is, let's say we have some vertices and we're drawing maybe a curvy road or a river. And this is one side of the river, or even the center side. We would like to get the other side. So what we need to do then is, in the offset edges, press extrude, and we can change the side. And yes, you may have noticed that if we go too far out, we get an intersection. Same on that side. So there are some limitations, but for the most part it works quite well. So now we've extruded that with the exact same distance throughout. Excellent tool. It really makes a difference for architectural modeling in Blender. Right, so the next one is MP Station. So just make sure I have it enabled. MP Station. What that does is, in your object mode tools, we have a series of create and modify elements. The one that I use all the time is point move. That allows us to move this object from this point to snap to exactly that point. I use the Blender snaps in vertex mode quite a bit, but sometimes it doesn't want to snap to the right place. I know we can do it by going back into the object and selecting an active vertex and then doing it, but I believe this is a much more intuitive way to do it. So if we click point move, select the vertex. If I hold Control, it snaps. So let's select that one. I hold Control and it snaps exactly to there. Very simple, very straightforward, very useful. Let's say with this guy again, point move. Then we can snap it to any of those. The other one I find useful is point align, but I'll let you play with them further. Going on, show UVW. This is like 3ds Max's box mapping add-on. So let's say we have an object and we don't really want to subdivide it, but we want to make sure that all the textures work well. I'm just gonna create a material. I'm in Blender internal, but it works the exact same way. In fact, let's just switch to cycles. Okay. Image texture. Open. Just gonna use some brick texture. That's what the object looks like. Just gonna add a floor. Make sure it's at 0. Right, so that's what the object looks like. You can see that we don't really have any control over the UVW. So if we click our object and we go in the object data, scroll down, and there's one that's called UVW Mapping. So first click to show the active texture in the object, and then UVW box map. And now if you render it, and that's it. And then it takes care of the rest. This is a simple project, but let's say that we even want to rotate those elements. Just gonna get my image editor up. Alright, let me get brick. So with these two selected, let's go to material preview. All I need to do is just rotate them. This one and this one. what I may need to do is make sure the selection is the same. See if that works now. Yep. So let's just go to material preview. So all I need to do is just rotate these 90, and now they're aligned in the other way. That's with one material. Let's say we want to add another material. Let's go this brick. Add another one called tiles. Just go in the node editor. Input texture, image texture, open textures. So I'll add some tiles or roof shingles for the color, and in edit mode I'll just assign that. So you see it keeps the UV coordinates. So that's without any need or with minimal need to go into the UV editor. Again, very useful for architectural modeling. Right, so moving on, we have Blender GIS. So what I find useful in Blender GIS is being able to convert contour lines into a mesh landscape. So here I've drawn some curves, but usually we import them from different packages. So I'm going to convert those curves to mesh, and then once you have Blender GIS enabled, if you click on the tab GIS in your tools and you press Delony, and it creates a mesh continuous between the different contour lines. Now, it's not the smoothest mesh. It looks a little bit better when it's smoother, because what it does is it essentially triangulates everything. So we can try to turn as much of the information to quads as possible to smoothen it out a little bit. But usually when we're working with contour lines, we're dealing with quite zoomed out landscapes. So for that matter, it's quite good. And in fact, most other landscaping packages use the Delony mesh triangulation method to create faces. So very useful. And the last one I want to talk about, which is a paid one, but very little. At the time of doing this tutorial, I believe the price is $5.90, is Blender OSM. So this allows us to create data directly, to import data directly from OpenStreetMap. So there's an extra step in it. So if you set it up, so import export OpenStreetMap. So what it asks for is a directory to store the downloaded OpenStreetMap. If you don't have this set up, if I go into OSM and try to import, it will give me an error. So it has its own tab, and within it, the way that I usually work in it is I go into select, and then it opens up a map from which we can select what we like to import. Let's say we import downtown Rotterdam. And then select show selection rectangle. Then copy. Then I'm going to go into a new layer for this. Paste, so you see all the coordinates adjusted. And then we have different options of importing whatever information we want. In this case, I would also like to import roads and railways. And then click on import. here is our context as it appears and as it has been scheduled, or rather drawn in OpenStreetMap. Now for these roads, what I usually do is I create a curve edit mode, vertex, where did it go? There it is. So I start with a mesh. I find that the easiest way to work with straight with curves that are not quite curves, but I convert them into curve data later. I'm just gonna put the origin point in the center here. Nope. Shift S5. There it is. So then I'm gonna convert this to a curve. Then with all the roads selected. Oh yes, so I need to convert them to a curve as well. So once they're a curve, for the bevel object, I select this. I didn't make this a curve. There it is. And now we have roads. And if I adjust the width of this, all the roads adjust accordingly. So that's it. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Please add any comments that you have, or if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.